its time, found itself at the center of a terrifying incident. During preparations for combat sorties as part of operations in Vietnam, an accidental launch of a Zuni rocket occurred from an F-4 Phantom fighter on the deck. The rocket detonated, piercing the fuel tank of an A-4 Skyhawk attack aircraft. The spreading stream of fuel instantly engulfed the planes on the deck in flames. Even before the crew could react, munitions began to explode. Each explosion intensified the fire, spreading it to other parts of the ship. The explosions of the bombs on the aircraft were especially terrifying. Among them were World War II-era munitions, prone to unstable detonation. One such explosion tore apart sections of the deck, sending dozens of people overboard. The crew bravely fought the fire, risking their lives, but the blaze destroyed 26 aircraft and damaged a significant portion of the carrier. This incident claimed 134 lives and became one of the most tragic in the history of the United States Navy. It led to a revision of all fire safety protocols and ammunition storage procedures, which later saved many lives. An F-15 fighter on one wing. On May 1, 1983, an incident occurred in the skies over the Negev desert in Israel that still amazes aviation experts to this day. During a training dogfight between two F-15Ds and four A-4N Skyhawks of the Israeli Air Force, one of the Eagles, piloted by Zivi Nedivi, collided with one of the Skyhawks. As a result of the collision, the right wing of the F-15D was almost completely sheared off, leaving only about 2 feet from the root. The A-4 pilot managed to eject and survived. Nedivi, unaware of the full extent of the damage, felt a strong jolt and noticed a fuel leak, but the aircraft continued to respond to the controls. When the plane began to go into a spin due to loss of control, Nedivi was able to stabilize it by adjusting engine thrust and using the remaining control surfaces. He decided to head for the nearest airbase, Ramon, which was about 10 miles away. During the landing approach, the pilot lowered the tailhook and touched down at a speed of about 260 knots, which is twice the standard landing speed. The aircraft managed to come to a stop just 33 feet from the end of the runway. Only after coming to a stop did Nedivi and the ground crew realize that the aircraft had lost almost its entire right wing. This incident became a testament to the strength of the F-15's design and the skill of the pilot. After repairs, the aircraft returned to service and continued to serve in the Israeli Air Force. This case highlights not only engineering achievements, but also the importance of pilot training and determination in critical situations. Emergency landing of an F-35. In October 2018, an F-35 Lightning II belonging to the U.S. Marine Corps encountered a serious technical malfunction during a training flight in South Carolina. The problem arose in the control system, which is one of the most complex and advanced in the world. At an altitude of about 15,000 feet, the aircraft began experiencing failures in the electrical system, which caused the main navigation instruments to shut down. The pilot quickly realized that landing would be extremely difficult, as the controls had become unstable. Despite the failure of several systems, the pilot managed to manually switch to backup mechanisms. Trying to maintain the aircraft's stability, the pilot began an emergency landing approach. At an altitude of 500 feet, the F-35 suddenly lost thrust in one of its engines. Thanks to the pilot's skill and the aircraft's unique design, the landing was completed safely. This incident became an example not only of the aircraft's reliability, but also of the pilot's professionalism. Testing of the X-15 spaceplane. The X-15 is one of the most ambitious projects in the history of aviation and astronautics, developed to reach altitudes and speeds that were previously considered unattainable. This experimental spaceplane set numerous records, but its history is also marked by a tragic incident. On November 15, 1967, pilot Michael Adams was making his 7th flight on the experimental X-15 aircraft. His primary task was to reach an altitude well beyond the atmosphere, and to carefully test new and advanced equipment for control at extremely high speeds. At an altitude of about 250,000 feet, problems began with the inertial navigation system. The spaceplane lost its orientation, and Adams became disoriented. At an enormous speed, exceeding 4,000 miles per hour, the X-15 entered the dense layers of the atmosphere at the wrong angle, which caused the structure to break apart. The pilot was unable to eject, and the incident ended in tragedy. This case became a lesson for the developers, forcing them to reconsider the control systems and provide better training for pilots. Michael Adams was posthumously awarded the astronaut badge, and his contribution to the X-15 program remains significant for future space developments. The T-38 Talon crash. On November 21, 2019, Vance Air Force Base in Oklahoma became the site of a tragic incident that shook the U.S. aviation community. During a training flight, two T-38 Talon trainer aircraft collided while approaching for landing, resulting in the deaths of two pilots. That day, both aircraft were performing standard training tasks, practicing paired landing approaches. Each aircraft had two pilots on board, an instructor and a cadet. As the crews began their approach to land, one of the aircraft unexpectedly entered a zone where a collision could not be avoided. The impact occurred at an altitude of less than 500 feet. One of the aircraft was destroyed almost instantly, its wreckage falling not far from the runway. The second aircraft sustained significant damage. The pilots tried to stabilize the plane but were unable to prevent the disaster. The aircraft crashed nearby, completely breaking apart upon impact with the ground. Two pilots from one of the crews were killed. The second crew, despite sustaining serious injuries, managed to evacuate and was taken to the hospital. The investigation determined that the cause of the incident was a coordination error between the crews during the landing approach. In addition, dense clouds and poor visibility may have played a role in the tragedy. This case served as an important reminder that even the most experienced pilots must strictly adhere to established procedures, especially in conditions of limited visibility. The US Air Force has tightened requirements for training flights in order to minimize the risk of similar incidents occurring again. The disaster at Vance Air Force Base left a deep mark in the history of the US Air Force, emphasizing that training flights carry no less risk than combat operations. Deadly risk in testing. In the mid-1960s, the SR-71 Blackbird was a symbol of technological progress and the intelligence-gathering power of the United States. But this aircraft also concealed many risks, known only to a select few pilots. In December 1966, during a test flight, an accident occurred that could have ended in tragedy. At an altitude of 85,000 feet, one of the engines malfunctioned. The SR-71 began to break apart right in midair. Pilot Bill Weaver ejected at an unprecedented speed, exceeding 2,000 miles per hour. Ejecting at such an altitude and speed was considered impossible, but thanks to luck and the skill of the engineers, Weaver survived. This incident became unique in history and proved the incredible resilience of the SR-71. These incidents prove that even the most advanced aircraft can end up in critical situations, and the fate of the pilots hangs by a thread. But it is courage, training, and split-second decisions that make the difference between life and disaster. Which of these stories impressed you the most? Write in the comments and don't forget to subscribe. There are even more incredible stories ahead that will amaze you. هل تعلم أن القوات الجوية الأمريكية قد أنشأت شيئاً متقدماً للغاية لدرجة أنه سيدمر كل شيء؟ اليوم سأعرض لكم أحدث التقنيات الجوية اللي أصبحت بالفعل في خدمة الجيش الأمريكي أو ستدخل الخدمة قريبا. هيا بنا. المقاتلة F-15EX Eagle 2. F-15EX Eagle 2 هو أحدث تطوير للطائرة الأسطورية F-15 والتي تم تصنيعها من قبل شركة بوينغ. تم تصميم هذه المقاتلة لتحديث أسطول الطيران في الولايات المتحدة الأمريكية حتى تتماشى مع متطلبات القتال الحديثة. يبلغ السعر التقريبي للوحدة الواحدة من F-15EX حوالي 87 مليون دولار. أما التكلفة الإجمالية للبرنامج بأكمله والتي تشمل التطوير وتدريب الطواقم والنفقات اللوجستية فتقدر بعدة مليارات من الدولارات. بدأ العمل على تطوير F-15EX في عام 2018 بعد أن أعلنت القوات الجوية الأمريكية عن الحاجة لاستبدال الطرازات القديمة من F-15CD. تم تسليم أول نموذج من هذه الطائرة الحديثة للجيش الأمريكي في عام 2021. وقد جاء اختيار F-15EX نتيجة الجمع بين تكلفة التشغيل المنخفضة نسبياً وإمكانية تزويدها بأحدث أنواع الأسلحة. تم تصميم الطائرة للاستخدام طويل الأمد في ظروف قتالية معقدة ويمكن أن تبقى في الخدمة حتى أربعينيات القرن الحالي. يبلغ طول الطائرة 63 قدما و8 بوصات. الوزن الأقصى للإقلاع هو 81,500 رطل. امتداد الجناحين يبلغ 42 قدما و8 بوصات. يمكن للطائرة أن تصل إلى سرعة 2.5 ماخ. الارتفاع العملي للطيران يبلغ 60,000 قدم مع مدى يصل إلى حوالي 2400 ميل. وبحسب الطراز يمكن أن يتكون طاقم الطائرة من شخص واحد أو شخصين. تم تزويد طائرة F-15EX بأنظمة تحكم حديثة وتجهيزات إلكترونية متطورة مثل الرادار AN/APG-80 ونظام الحرب الإلكترونية IPA/VSES، بالإضافة إلى قمرة قيادة مزودة بشاشات لمس كبيرة لتسهيل عمل الطيارين. بالإضافة إلى ذلك تم دمج الطائرة في شبكات تبادل البيانات مما يتيح لها التفاعل مع الطائرات الأخرى والوحدات الأرضية في الوقت الفعلي. تتميز طائرة F-15EX بقدرة كبيرة على حمل الأوزان ومرونة في اختيار التسليح وقادرة على حمل 30,000 رطل من من الذخائر على 12 نقطة تعليق. تشمل ترسانتها صواريخ جوجو وجو أرض وقنابل موجهة، مع إمكانية دمج صواريخ الفرط الصوتية، بما في ذلك التطويرات المستقبلية لسلاح الجو الأمريكي. وبفضل مدى عملها الذي يصل إلى 750 ميلا دون الحاجة للتزود بالوقود، يمكن لطائرة F-5EX تنفيذ المهام على مسافات بعيدة عن قاعدتها. محركات الطائرة أكثر كفاءة في استهلاك الوقود. طائرة الحرب الإلكترونية L3 هاريس EA 337B. أنهت شركة L3 هاريس تسليم الطائرة الثالثة من طراز EA 37B كومباس تراك لتلبية احتياجات القوات الجوية الأمريكية. هذا الطراز مزود بنظام هجوم كهرومغناطيسي محسن تم تطويره من قبل شركة BAE Systems، كما أن طائرة EA 37B اللي كانت تعرف سابقا باسم EC 37B هي طائرة متخصصة في الحرب الإلكترونية تم تطويرها على أساس منصة جولف ستريم G5 52. وصلت أول طائرة من طراز EA 37B إلى قاعدة القوات الجوية ديفيس مونتان في 23 من أغسطس عام 2024 لإجراء تدريبات الطاقم. يبلغ باع جناحي هذه الطائرة 93 قدما و6 بوصات، في حين يبلغ طولها الإجمالي 96 قدما ونصف القدم. تم تزويد الطائرة بمحركين من نوع رولز رويس BR 700 قادرين على تحقيق سرعة قصوى تبلغ 767 ميلا في الساعة. يبلغ مدى طيران EA 37B 4410 أميال بحرية. تستطيع طائرة الحرب الإلكترونية هذه التحليق على ارتفاع يصل إلى 45 ألف قدم، وهي مصممة لاستيعاب ما يصل إلى 9 أفراد من الطاقم. طائرة التدريب T-7A ريد هوك. طورت الولايات المتحدة الأمريكية نظام تدريب جديد للطيارين باسم T-7A ريد هوك لصالح القوات الجوية، وهي مناسبة لكل من الطيارين المستقبليين للطائرات التكتيكية وكذلك القاذفات. ستصل أول طائرة تدريب من طراز ريد هوك إلى قاعدة القوات الجوية راندولف في عام 2026. وقد أبرمت الوزارة عقدا مع شركة بوينغ لتوريد 351 طائرة تدريبية بقيمة 9 مليارات و200 مليون دولار. تتميز طائرة ريد هوك بعدة خصائص: ذيل مزدوج ومحرك واحد، وكابينة فريدة بتصميم مدرج حيث يكون مقعد المدرب أعلى من مقعد المتدرب. الكابينة الرقمية الحديثة مزودة بميزات تشبه تلك الموجودة في الطائرات المقاتلة، وهذا سيسمح للمتدربين بالحصول على وعي ميداني أفضل ويهيئهم للرحلات الجوية الحقيقية. سيوفر نظام التدريب الجديد على طائرة ريد هوك عملية إعداد أكثر أمانا وواقعية مقارنة بأنظمة التدريب الأخرى. من الجيد أن تتاح لك الفرصة لصقل مهارات القيادة على جهاز محاكاة خاص حتى لا تتعرض للحوادث في المستقبل. ولكن ماذا لو تعرضت لحادث سير في أمريكا ولا تعرف ماذا تفعل بعد ذلك، أو إلى أين تتوجه لطلب المساعدة، أو أين تجد محاميا كفؤا، أو كيف تحصل على تعويض إذا لم يكن لديك تأمين؟ لقد ساعدت شركة DTP أمريكان عملائها في الحصول على تعويضات بلغت 21 مليون دولار. هنا ستجد بالتأكيد إجابات على جميع أسئلتك. الرابط في الوصف. طائرة الهجوم L3 هاريس OA 802. هذه طائرة هجومية واستطلاعية خفيفة بمحرك واحد وجناح ثابت، تم تطويرها بجهود مشتركة بين شركتي و L3 هاريس خصيصا لبرنامج الدوريات المسلحة التابع لقيادة العمليات الخاصة الأمريكية. استخدم الطراز الزراعي Air Tractor AT-82 كأساس لتصميم هذه الطائرة في إطار مسابقة Armed Overwatch التي أجريت لاختيار الطائرات المناسبة. فازت طائرة AT-802U Sky Warden. في الأول من أغسطس عام 2022 تم الإعلان عن توقيع عقد بين قيادة العمليات الخاصة الأمريكية والشركات المصنعة بقيمة 3 مليارات دولار أمريكي، ينص على شراء 75 وحدة من هذه الطائرة بحلول عام 2029. يبلغ طول الطائرة الهجومية 37.5 قدم وارتفاعها 13 قدما، ويضمن التشغيل المستمر للطائرة محرك توربيني مروحي من نوع برات & ويتني PT6A 67F بقوة 1600 حصان. سعة خزانات الوقود في الأجنحة تبلغ 320 جالونا أمريكيا، وفي خزانات الهيكل 360 جالونا أمريكيا. تستطيع الطائرة الهجومية أن تصل إلى سرعة 245 ميلا في الساعة على ارتفاع 10,000 قدم، ويبلغ مدى الطيران 1500 ميل. قنبلة جوية من فئة CDB GBU 39. القنبلة الجوية GBU 39 تندرج ضمن فئة الذخائر الموجهة صغيرة العيار. يبلغ وزن الذخيرة 249 رطلا. الغرض الأساسي من GBU 39 هو إصابة الأهداف الأرضية بدقة عالية من مسافة آمنة، مع تقليل خطر تعرض الطائرة الحاملة لوسائل الدفاع الجوي التابعة للعدو. بفضل حجمها المدمج وقطرها الصغير يمكن تثبيت القنبلة على الحملات الخارجية أو داخل حجرة الأسلحة بالطائرة، مما يقلل بصمتها الرادارية ويحسن خصائصها الجوية. الجناح الديناميكي الهوائي لقنبلة GBU 38 يزيد مداها لأكثر من 62 ميلا. عند انفجار الشحنة التي تزن 285 رطلا يبلغ نصف قطر التأثير 26 قدما. في الوقت نفسه تستطيع القنبلة اختراق 5 إلى 6 أقدام من الخرسانة المسلحة. يبلغ قطر القذيفة 7.5 بوصة وطولها 6 أقدام. وزن المادة المتفجرة هو 37.5 رطلا. الطائرة بدون طيار XQ-58A أبرمت شركة كريتوس ديفنس الأمريكية الخاصة المتخصصة في تطوير الطائرات بدون طيار عقدا مع وزارة الدفاع الأمريكية في عام 2016 لتصميم طائرات بدون طيار. أجريت أول رحلة للطائرة القتالية بدون طيار XQ-58A في 5 مارس عام 2019. خلال التطوير أجريت عدة مراحل من الاختبارات الجوية في مرحلتين. كانت المرحلة السادسة التي أجريت في مارس 2001 أول مرة استخدمت فيها XQ-58A كمنصة إطلاق لطائرة ألتيوس صغيرة بدون طيار متعددة الأدوار وزنها 600 طن. هذه الطائرة قادرة على تنفيذ مهام المراقبة والحرب الإلكترونية وتدمير الطائرات المسيرة المعادية. وفقا لبيانات كريتوس ديفنس طول XQ-58A 29 قدما و8 إنشات وباع جناحيها 27 قدما. الحد الأقصى لوزن الإقلاع هو 5952 رطلا، أما الحمولة المفيدة فتصل إلى 1200 رطل. من المتوقع أن تكون هذه الطائرات المسيرة قادرة على بلوغ سرعة طيران عادية تصل إلى 511 ميلا في الساعة وقطع مسافة تصل إلى 3480 ميلا والارتفاع حتى 46000 قدم. تجعل هذه المواصفات الطائرات صعبة المنال لمعظم أنظمة الدفاع الجوي وأهدافا معقدة للطائرات المقاتلة المأهولة. في 2 أبريل 2024 أصدرت شركة كريتوس ديفنس بيانا صحفيا حول الاختبارات الناجحة لطائرة XQ-58A المجهزة بمعدات الحرب الإلكترونية. مروحية MH-33A جراي وولف. جراي وولف هي مروحية عسكرية تم تطويرها على أساس المروحية المدنية AW-33 وذلك لتنفيذ مهام دعم الصواريخ الباليستية العابرة للقارات وعمليات الردع النووي في الولايات المتحدة. طورت المروحية من بوينغ وليوناردو وسميت MH-136A مزودة بمحركين وأنظمة لزيادة البقاء مع أنظمة اتصال وملاحة عسكرية. درعت قمرة القيادة والمقصورة وخزانات الوقود تتحمل الصدمات وتغلق ذاتيا لمنع التسرب. جراي وولف مزود بنظام إنذار ضد الهجمات الصاروخية ومجموعة وسائل التشويش والحماية. تستخدم كاميرات الأشعة تحت الحمراء للرؤية والمراقبة وتتسع قمرة المروحية ل15 شخصا. ويحمل الطاقم رشاشين خارجيين من طراز M42. تبلغ السرعة القصوى للمروحية 192 ميلا في الساعة وسرعة التحليق الاقتصادية 155 ميلا في الساعة بدون التزود بالوقود. يمكن لطائرة MH-133A قطع أكثر من 158 ميلا والبقاء في الجو حتى 3 ساعات. طائرة الدعم E7M ويدج تيل. تم تطوير طائرة الإنذار المبكر والتحكم الجديدة على أساس طائرة الركاب بوينغ 737 وقد حصلت على مجموعة من أحدث التحسينات اللي حسنت من أدائها بشكل كبير. الاختلاف الرئيسي في الطراز الجديد عن السابق هو استخدام رادار نشط بمسح إلكتروني بدلا من الهوائي الدوار، وهذا يوفر تغطية بزاوية 360 درجة. تعد طائرة E7 مركزا مرنا للقيادة والتحكم. تستخدم الاتصال الشبكي والمعالجة الطرفية والاتصالات العضوية وبيانات أجهزة الاستشعار، وهذا يمكنها من التكيف بسرعة مع الظروف المتغيرة وأداء مهامها بكفاءة. تعتزم القوات الجوية الأمريكية شراء 26 طائرة ويدج تيل. من المتوقع أن يتم تسليم أول نموذجين أوليين بحلول عام 2027 بينما ستكون الطائرات المتبقية جاهزة بحلول عام 2032. الطائرة القتالية القابلة للتحويل V-180 فالور. تعد V-180 فالور طائرة قتالية بعيدة المدى قادرة على تنفيذ مهام متنوعة بفضل سرعتها العالية ومرونتها وقدرتها على التحمل. يتيح التصميم الفريد لطائرة فالور إمالة الدوار وأعمدة الدفع مع بقاء المحركات ثابتة. تستطيع الطائرة الطيران بسرعة إبحار 322 ميلا في الساعة ويصل مداها القتالي إلى 920 ميلا. هذه المواصفات تمكن V-180 فالور من تنفيذ المهام بكفاءة وقدرة مناورة أفضل من المروحيات التقليدية. تم تصميم الطائرة لتعمل بطاقم من 4 أشخاص ويمكن أن تستوعب المقصورة حتى 14 مظليا. طائرة التزود بالوقود KC-47 بيغاسوس. قامت شركة بوينغ بتطوير طائرة النقل العسكرية الاستراتيجية للتزود بالوقود KC-47 استنادا إلى طائرة الركاب النفاثة 767 تم إدخال أول طائرة كيسي 47 بيجاسوس إلى الخدمة في سلاح الجو الأمريكي عام 2019، ومن المخطط شراء 179 طائرة من هذا الطراز حتى عام 2027. تتميز بيجاسوس بحجمها الكبير ما يسمح بحمل 18 منصة شحن. بالإضافة إلى ذلك يمكن للطائرة نقل 58 راكبا أو حتى 114 شخصا أثناء تنفيذ العمليات العسكرية. تبلغ السعة القصوى للوقود في طائرة كيسي 47 25,360 جالونا أمريكيا. تم تزويده بنظام تزويد بالوقود جوي مخفي من نوع جو يستقبل الوقود بسرعة 1198 غالونا أمريكيا في الدقيقة. من ميزات طائرة كيسي 46 أنظمة عرض المعلومات والوعي التكتيكي، إضافة إلى نظام الرؤية عن بعد للمشغل بتقنية ثلاثية وثنائية الأبعاد. كما يتم توفير الاتصال والملاحة والمراقبة عبر بنية تحتية شبكية. تصل السرعة القصوى لطائرة بيجاسوس إلى 568 ميلا في الساعة، ومدى طيرانها 7580 ميلا، وأقصى ارتفاع للطيران 40,000 قدم. المروحية القتالية Defiant X. تم استخدام أحدث التقنيات في تصميم Defiant X. المحور الخاص بنظام الدورات والإلكترونيات المطورة للطيران تجعل المروحية فعالة في تنفيذ مختلف المهام. يدور دوار المروحية في اتجاهين متعاكسين، مما يمنحها عدة مزايا: زيادة القدرة على المناورة، تقليل الصيانة الفنية، وتحسين السلامة. تعمل المروحية بهدوء أكبر مما يسمح باستخدامها في وضع التخفي. إلكترونيات الطيران في Defiant X تشمل أحدث أجهزة الاستشعار والكاميرات التي توفر للطيارين إدراكا للموقف بزاوية 360 درجة. يمكنهم رؤية التهديدات المحتملة في جميع الاتجاهات. بفضل التصميم الجديد يستطيع Defiant X الوصول إلى سرعة 340 ميلا في الساعة، ويوفر المروحة الثالثة الإضافية قوة دفع وسرعة أكبر. القاذفة الاستراتيجية B-21 ريدر. ستتيح القاذفة الشبحية الاستراتيجية الجديدة B-21 ريدر للقوات الجوية الأمريكية استبدال طائرات روكويل B-1 لانسر القديمة بحلول عام 2040. تعد B-21 ريدر مرحلة جديدة في تطور القاذفات الاستراتيجية للقوات الجوية، وقد تم تطبيق تقنيات الجيل الجديد فيها، بالإضافة إلى دمج إمكانيات الشبكات الحديثة. تستطيع الطائرة حمل القنابل التقليدية والنووية على حد سواء، مستخدمة مجموعة واسعة من الذخائر لتنفيذ الضربات. ومن بين العديد من القنابل والصواريخ ستحمل B-21 قنبلة اختراق التحصينات GBU-75 وقنبلة GBU-30 جيدام الموجهة بالأقمار الصناعية، وصواريخ كروز JSSM-ER. المعدات العسكرية لسلاح الجو الأمريكي تخضع باستمرار لعمليات تحديث مع تطبيق أحدث الإنجازات العلمية. تعمل القوات المسلحة الأمريكية بلا كلل على تطوير قدراتها للحفاظ على تفوقها في العمليات الجوية، ودعم القوات البرية بفعالية، وتنفيذ المهام الإنسانية. وهذا كل شيء لليوم. إلى اللقاء في المرات القادمة. Do you know who Baron Trump is? He is the richest child in the world. After all, his father is none other than Donald Trump himself, an entrepreneur, billionaire, and the 45th and 47th President of the USA. The appearance of the younger Trump at his father's second inauguration was quite impressive. A tall, pleasant-looking, and reserved young man. Today, I will reveal all the facts about Baron Trump's biography as well as the estimated value of his financial status. Let's go! The young multimillionaire. The son of billionaire and former model Donald and Melania, Baron Trump has not escaped that accompanies his life. According to estimates, in 2024, this amount exceeds the earnings of many. It is important to note that Baron did not have to make significant efforts to acquire these funds. It is all explained by his family's wealth and successful investments. Let's not forget about Baron's trust fund filled with various assets. Among his possessions are luxurious real estate properties, such as a 10,000 square foot mansion in Palm Beach, Florida, valued at about $11 million, and a 30-acre estate in Bedminster, New Jersey, valued at $19 million. Baron also holds shares in several major technology companies, including Amazon, Alphabet, Microsoft, Apple, Meta Platforms, Tesla, Berkshire Hathaway, JP Morgan Chase, United Health Group, Home Depot, and Visa. Despite his significant wealth, Baron Trump is eager to establish his own business. Together with partners, he is reviving the company Trump, Fulcher and Roxburgh Capital, Inc. Due to his father's re-election as President of the United States, the company had to temporarily cease operations to avoid excessive media attention. However, in the spring of 2025, the young entrepreneur plans to return to the luxury real estate market. The company's main office will be located in Florida, with the primary base being the senior Trump's estate in Mar-a-Lago. The exact locations of the future offices have not yet been disclosed, but it is known that the company will undertake large-scale projects in the premium real estate sector. One of the founders, Cameron Roxburgh, a classmate of Barron from Oxbridge Academy in Palm Beach, noted that the project is in its initial stages but aims for ambitious goals, including the creation of golf courses and real estate properties in Utah, Arizona, and Idaho. The birth of Barron Trump. The youngest, fifth son of Donald Trump, by stunt Barron, began attracting attention even before he was born. The news of Melania's pregnancy instantly spread worldwide thanks to the media. Vogue magazine even featured a photo of the expectant mother in a bikini and an open coat on its cover. Barron William Trump was born on March 20, 2006. The name Barron was chosen by his father, Donald Trump, who sometimes used this pseudonym when pretending to be his own public relations agent. The middle name, William, was chosen by Melania. The newborn was given an entire floor in the 663-foot Trump Tower in New York, which included a nursery, kitchen, living room, and rooms for the nanny and mother. Barron's christening took place in May at the Episcopal Church Bethesda by the Sea in the prestigious resort of Palm Beach, Florida. The boy grew up to be a calm and healthy child. Despite his busy schedule, the famous father found time to play with his son and feed him from a bottle. However, he categorically refused to change diapers. Who would have thought that Donald Trump would be so squeamish? Gifts from celebrities at birth. The birth of Barron was a joyful event for the whole family, and many celebrities hurried to congratulate the newborn with luxurious gifts. For instance, designer Dennis Basso presented the baby with an exquisite white mink blanket, and renowned journalist Barbara Walters sent a large plush toy dog. Friends of the Trump family also did not stand aside, gifting little Barron a variety of children's goods and onesies embroidered with popular quotes from Donald, including one of the most recognizable, "You're fired." However, the most unusual gift was a golden stroller with a chandelier, which was given by actress and comedian Ellen DeGeneres. Melania took this gesture as a joke and showed the stroller to guests, saying, "This will definitely make you smile." I talked about Donald Trump's other children in my Telegram channel, Unusual America, where I publish the most incredible stories from life in the USA and share important news. Visit, read, and subscribe. The upbringing process. Initially, Melania used the services of a nanny, but soon decided to forego her help, choosing to care for her son and participate in his upbringing herself. Soon her parents joined her, moving from Slovenia, and the grandmother happily began helping with the grandson. They taught Barron the Slovenian language, which he now knows perfectly. The parents aimed to limit public attention towards their son. In his childhood, Barron rarely appeared on screen. He participated a few times in the show The Apprentice, hosted by his father, and once appeared in an episode of Oprah Winfrey's program. Interestingly, Barron became the first child to live in the White House in the past half-century. The previous such instance was the move of John F. Kennedy Jr. He left the residence at the age of 2 after the assassination of his father, John F. Kennedy, the 35th President of the United States. Melania carefully protected her son's privacy throughout their time in the White House. Even when the family officially left the residence in January 2021 and Donald Trump delivered his farewell address before flying to Florida, Barron was nowhere to be seen, although it is known that the boy flew with the family and was inside the plane at that time. Education. Barron received his primary education at one of the oldest independent schools in the country, Columbia Grammar and Preparatory School, founded in 1764, and also attended St. Andrew's Episcopal School. From 2021 to 2024, he studied at the Oxbridge Academy in Florida, after which he decided to continue his education in business at New York University. The choice of university was a surprise, as Barron broke the family tradition of attending the University of Pennsylvania or Georgetown University. It is worth noting that Donald Trump himself and his older children, Donald Jr., Ivanka, Eric, and Tiffany, were educated there. The president expressed pride in his youngest son's achievements. He was accepted into many colleges, he's a very smart guy, and he got into the Stern School of Business at New York University, which is considered one of the best institutions. "I'm well acquainted with this university, as it is among the top ranked," Trump noted in an interview with the Daily Mail. Polyglot. After leaving the White House, the Trump family settled in Florida, where Barron continued his education at a prestigious private school. The cost of tuition at this institution is high, $38,500 per year. But the parents are confident that such expenses are justified for the sake of quality education and ensuring their son's safety. Before enrollment, the schools inform the parents of the students that each student would be protected by Secret Service agents. And Baron was no exception. It is worth noting that Baron has been fluent in several languages from a young age. He speaks Slovenian, his mother's native language, and English, his father's native language, fluently. In addition, he studied French from childhood, which allowed him to master it perfectly. Thus, Baron confidently communicates in 3 languages. Baron often speaks with his mother in Slovenian. Sometimes this happens in the presence of Secret Service agents, which leaves them puzzled since they do not understand what the conversation is about. Donald Trump admitted that he never learned his wife's native language, so he is also concerned that he does not understand what they are talking about. I hope that Baron Trump has equally good knowledge of traffic rules. But what if you get into an accident in America and don't know what to do next, where to seek help, where to find a competent lawyer, or how to get compensation if you don't have insurance? The company DTP America has helped obtain $21 million in compensation for its clients. Here, they will definitely answer all your questions. Link in the description. Hobbies and interests. Baron's interests are diverse, but football holds a special place. He became interested in this sport at an early age. In 2017, he had the opportunity to meet with players from the DC United soccer team when they visited the White House. Baron was thrilled when he got to discuss football with forward Patrick Mullins, as well as midfielders Julian Buscher and Marcelo Sarvas. After the conversation, the players gave Baron a black and red soccer ball signed by team members, noting that they were impressed by his knowledge of football and his eagerness to learn more. That same year, Baron joined the US Soccer Development Academy and made it onto the DC United U12 team. Besides football, he is also passionate about playing golf and often practices at specialized courses. It is well known that Donald Trump has a fondness for fast food. Despite having personal chefs, he loves dishes from McDonald's. In this, Baron is similar to his father. He is always happy to snack on a Big Mac and drink a Frappuccino from Starbucks. Favorite style and clothing. By the year 2024, Baron Trump has changed significantly, not only physically, surpassing his brothers and father in height, but also in terms of his views and preferences. These changes were also reflected in his choice of clothing. When Baron lived in the White House, his everyday clothing style was often criticized. Perhaps this was due to his mother's desire to avoid unnecessary attention to her son. Later, Baron was more frequently seen in sportswear, often jeans and comfortable sneakers from the core line by New Balance. He often preferred black sneakers paired with black jeans and a short bomber jacket. When it comes to accessories, Baron Trump clearly has a fondness for fashionable watches. He has been repeatedly seen with such significant adornments as the Rolex Submariner, highlighting his inclination towards luxury items. These watches are by no means cheap, with prices starting at $10,000. However, his taste in clothing has recently undergone changes. Perhaps it's time to match his status, as his father always looks elegant and his mother has become a recognized style icon. Now Baron is increasingly seen in stylish suits with a tie. Threats of violence. We all understand perfectly well that Baron Trump's life is far from carefree, as it might seem at first glance. Money cannot guarantee happiness or peace of mind. And while unpleasant headlines or jokes can be hurtful, sometimes the problems are much more serious. A woman from Chicago was arrested for making death threats against the principal of the school. Baron Trump attends in Palm Beach, where he moved after his father's first presidential term ended. In a recent and detailed news report by NBC Chicago, it was explicitly mentioned that Tracy Fiorenza had sent a threatening email to the school principal, which included threats of physical harm directed towards Donald Trump and his son Baron. Naturally, these serious threats were taken very seriously, and as a result, Fiorenza was required to testify to Secret Service representatives before eventually appearing in court. Political disagreements often evoke strong emotions, but calls for violence against anyone, especially an innocent child, are completely unacceptable. The Trump family refrained from commenting on the incident, but the Daily Mail reported at that particular time that Melania Trump was primarily focused on keeping her son out of the public eye and helping him choose a college. A source also told People magazine, "Remember, Melania is a mother who has to protect her underage son." Since his birth, Baron Trump was not destined for an ordinary life. His father was a well-known figure long before he became president. Nevertheless, Baron has mostly managed to stay in the shadows and enjoy what his father provided. avoiding deadly threats, constant mockery, and speculation. Being in the White House drastically changed the situation, steering his life in a completely different direction. And that's all for today. Goodbye, everyone.
You can't even imagine what American roads are capable of. Have you heard how on US roads, drivers compete not only in speed, but also in bravery? It seems like Bolivia, with its death road, is ahead of the whole world. But that's not the case. It turns out, the states can also boast of their road extremities. The World Health Organization has long awarded America an honorable place among the most dangerous countries for drivers. Today, you will learn about routes where a calm drive turns into a real adventure. Sometimes, a sharp turn or a hidden intersection behind a hill can change everything in the blink of an eye. Hold on tight. Ahead is a story about roads that make your heart beat faster. The Dragon Highway is now known far beyond the borders of America. Until 1996, it was simply number 126, and no one really knew about its existence. The length of this highway is only 11 miles, yet it includes as many as 318 of the most complex turns and interchanges. The road passes through two states, Tennessee and North Carolina, predominantly through dense forests. Once, this was a hunting path of the Cherokee tribe, along which they returned home with their catch. Later, Europeans used this route to drive cattle to city markets. In the mid-20th century, the US government decided to pave this trail, turning it into a full-fledged road, numbered Route 26. However, it was hardly used for a long time, until the 1990s, when bikers and motorists from all over the world began to flock here. It is thanks to them that the road earned its nickname, the Dragon. The speed limit of 30 miles per hour does not deter the daredevils, nor does the presence of police patrols. Federal authorities have prohibited the construction of any structures along the route, leaving only one motel, so that nothing distracts drivers from the challenging maneuvers. Some sections of the route have received their own names, such as Guardrail Rock and Gravity Cavity. These areas are fenced with metal barriers, which bear the marks of numerous accidents. Highway 550, which is 25 miles long, is located in the southwest of Colorado and connects the historic towns of Ouray and Silverton, passing through Red Mountain Pass in the San Juan Mountains at an elevation of 11,000 feet above sea level. The most dangerous section of this road is the complete absence of guardrails, which is due to the need for snow and avalanche debris removal. Most of the highway lacks a shoulder, so the slightest deviation from the route threatens a fall down the mountain slope. This stretch of Highway 550 has earned the unofficial name the $1 Million Highway. There are several versions of the origin of this name, including the cost of road construction, the expenses for laying the pavement, as well as the amount of gold and silver extracted during the road's construction in 1926. This gravel road, stretching approximately 414 miles, was opened in the year 1974 and connects the city of Fairbanks with the North Slope of Alaska, serving as an important route for transporting oil and gas. Officially named the James Dalton Highway, it is also known as the Hall Road. The route meanders through the remote, winding Brooks Range, where in 1971, a record low temperature in U.S. history was recorded at -80 degrees Fahrenheit. In 1994, the road became accessible to tourists, which caused concern among experienced truck drivers, accustomed to the challenges of this narrow and dangerous route. To ensure safety, helicopters patrol the road twice a day, ready to assist in case of an accident or breakdown. The only gas station along the entire route is located in the settlement of Coldfoot, approximately halfway to Deadhorse, situated at the northern end of the highway. The state tourism agency warns that rental companies usually prohibit their clients from using rented cars on such roads, despite the fact that about 10 accidents occur here annually. most of which involve vehicle rollovers. The mortality rate remains low, less than 1 case per year. I have described these and other dangerous roads in my Telegram channel, Unusual America, where I publish the most incredible stories from life in the USA and share important news. Visit, read, and subscribe. California drivers have adopted the term Highway of Death, or Road of Death, from the famous Bolivian route North Yungas, applying it to Highway 138, which stretches from Interstate 15 to the city of Palmdale. In the year 2000, the Los Angeles Times reported that over the previous 5 years, this route, also known as Blood Alley and the California Road of Death, had seen 50 fatalities and 875 injuries. On average, this steep and winding 2-lane section of road recorded more than 10 deaths per year. Improvement work on the road began in 2006, but due to inconveniences for the local population and related threats against road workers, as well as acts of vandalism against construction equipment, the project faced numerous delays. Nevertheless, after the completion of the work, the number of fatalities decreased, thanks to the widening TAI and improved visibility on the road. Highway 431, stretching 99 miles from Phoenix City to Dothan in Alabama, is considered one of the most dangerous routes in the country. From 1999 to 2010, there were 20 fatal accidents on this stretch. And now the road is marked with white crosses, placed by the families and friends of the victims. Before the reconstruction was completed in 2010, which expanded the road to 4 lanes, officials attributed the significantly high mortality rate on Highway 431 to substantial traffic congestion and limited visibility on most of the 2-lane sections. Now, a significant portion of the highway consists of 4 lanes, except for sections that pass through small towns. As the longest highway crossing the country from north to south, Highway 1 presents a complex challenge in terms of identifying a specific section that makes it particularly dangerous. The route stretches for 545 miles and passes through 13 counties, claiming over 1,000 lives every 10 years. Although fatal incidents occur along the entire length of the road, their number noticeably increases in the summer, when traffic intensity significantly rises. Despite the beauty of Highway 17, which unfolds before travelers heading from Virginia to Florida, it is important to remember that this road harbors many dangers, especially in South Carolina. The breathtaking views are accompanied by narrow lanes, unexpected turns, sharp curves, and wild animals, such as deer, that can suddenly dart onto the road. With a rate of 1 fatal accident for every 2 miles, no driver can feel completely safe. When traveling on any roads, adhering to traffic rules is absolutely essential. But if you get into an accident in America and don't know what to do next, where to seek help, where to find a competent lawyer, how to get compensation if you don't have insurance, the company DTP America has helped secure $21 million in compensation for its clients. Here, you will definitely get answers to all your questions. Link in the description. The danger on Highway 199 does not decrease when travelers heading north cross the Oregon state line. This road, known as the Redwood Highway, starts in Crescent City, California, and ends in Grants Pass, Oregon. Throughout these 80 miles, there is 1 fatal accident recorded every 2 miles. The narrow and winding road, surrounded by magnificent scenery, often causes accidents as drivers get distracted by the views or lose their bearings on the curves. Most tragedies are related to cars veering off the road and crashing into
وفر كهرباء حتى 35% في كل برامج الغسيل مع تكنولوجيا انرجي سبين من بيكو اريال بودز.
انا بستخدم كابيتال سولاي دراي تاتش من فيشي علشان بيقلل اللمعان ومناسب للبشره الدهنيه.
Trees. Highway 83 in the USA is notable for its considerable length, starting from the Canadian border and ending at the Mexican border, passing through the states of North and South Dakota, Nebraska, Kansas, Oklahoma, and Texas. However, this route becomes most dangerous in the southern part of Texas. Here, a fatal accident is recorded every other week, and the total number of accidents exceeds those in other regions. Wolf Creek Pass, located in the San Juan Mountains, is known for its steep climbs, sharp turns, and narrow switchbacks. If you add adverse weather conditions to this, Highway 160 becomes one of the most dangerous roads in the country. It might be wise to heed the State Department of Transportation's advice to beware of the wolf. Interstate I-95 has once again made the list of dangerous roads, especially in the Little River area of Miami, where the number of fatalities in Florida has increased, mainly due to a 4-mile stretch of express lane. Since the toll lane is separated by movable cones, some drivers attempt to use it at inappropriate times to bypass traffic jams on the main lane, which sometimes leads to accidents, and an increase in the number of injured and fatalities. I-95 is one of the busiest highways in the state, and although it has dangerous sections, none of them are recognized as the most dangerous in the Sunshine State. Highway 1 in the Big Sur area narrows to almost one lane in each direction. Even in perfect Californian weather, this section of the road can pose a threat. The reason is that good weather reveals breathtaking coastal views that can distract the driver. Add to this bad weather, and the situation worsens with mud and potential landslides. In such a natural landscape, even a minor accident can quickly turn into a tragedy due to the challenging terrain. Over the course of 145 miles in Arizona, from Flagstaff to Phoenix, Route PR-17 navigates elevation changes reaching nearly a mile, ascending and descending from north to south. Such changes in terrain offer drivers the opportunity to pull off the road and enjoy views of the mountains and deserts. However, the beauty attracts many travelers, leading to an increase in the number of accidents, with approximately 1 fatal accident per kilometer of road. The Vertud Highway, a 67-mile section of Highway 212, is often mentioned as one of the most beautiful routes in the country, passing at an elevation of over 10,000 feet between the states of Wyoming and Montana, including the northeastern entrance, to Yellowstone National Park. It fully meets expectations. However, at such an altitude, one should be prepared for numerous turns, steep descents, and unpredictable weather conditions. Open to vehicular traffic in 1937, this route with its sharp turns and descents can cause drivers to feel dizzy throughout the journey. A short section of Highway 1 to 26 is considered one of the most dangerous roads in South Carolina, according to federal and state data. From 2000 to 2010, there were 286 accidents on Highway 126 in South Carolina, resulting in 325 fatalities. It is also noted that there are few guardrails installed on this section of the road, and the slopes of the ditches on the shoulders are very steep. According to statistics, more than 10% of all accidents that occurred on Route 195 in Connecticut, which is 99 miles long, happen on the 8-mile stretch near the city of Norwalk. It is precisely here that the likelihood of getting into an accident significantly increases. Annually, 735 traffic accidents are recorded here, whereas on similarly sized sections in other cities, such as New Haven, Stamford, Greenwich, and Milford, this figure is below 600. The cause of the increased accident rate is frequent traffic jams in the city, as well as complex turns and hilly terrain. Public organizations operating near Toledo, Ohio, have been advocating for over 20 years for the expansion and improvement of Highway 24. which runs 77 miles west of Toledo, to Fort Wayne, Indiana. Approximately halfway to Fort Wayne is the city of Napoleon, where the highway expansion was completed in 2012. The new 23-mile stretch of road replaced the old dangerous two-lane route, where major accidents frequently occurred, especially involving large trucks. This road became notoriously famous for horrific head-on collisions between semi-trucks transporting goods, between factories in Ohio and Indiana. For instance, near Defiance, Ohio, there was a so-called death turn, and the section of U.S. Route 24 itself gained a grim reputation as the Death Road. Ohio authorities once proposed indeed temporarily waiving the toll on the nearby Ohio Turnpike to encourage more freight to use this wider route. According to the Las Vegas Convention and Visitors Authority, more than 8 million people travel annually between southern Nevada and southern California. This 180-mile stretch has recorded more fatalities than anywhere else in the state. Moreover, half of the deceased were not wearing seatbelts. There are several other factors contributing to the high mortality rate on R15. Among them are driving under the influence and distracted driving. In the 5-year period leading up to 2005, 173 people died on this stretch of road, although improvements have been made since then, including lane expansions. America is built for car travel. The total length of roads in the United States is 2.7 million miles. That's enough to circle the globe almost 110 times. With so many routes, there are inevitably some that are better avoided.
هو دبي فون عاملين عروض؟
دول عاملين عروض كتير قوي.
خلي كوكي معاك الحق العرض قبل ما يخلص.
كوكي مين؟
احتفل معانا ب 19 سنة ثقة مع دبي فون واشتري من أكتر من 20 فرع حواليه. دبي فون اللي بينا ثقة.
بريك بخلطة القمح والذرة، قرمشة قوية وطعم مفيش زيه. بريك الحق بسط.
Guys, have you already heard about the update in the world of high technology that everyone is talking about in 2025? What a surprise! Elon Musk, known for his incredible ideas, has unveiled a new supersonic fighter jet. This is a real breakthrough that is already changing the game. Today, you will learn all about the hypersonic marvel that can cover vast distances faster than you can say, wow. Let's dive together into this world where the future has already arrived. This will be a journey full of discoveries and unexpected turns. Elon Musk's new supersonic aircraft, the Starjet. In an era of rapid technological progress, few innovations could leave the world in complete silence. Until today. Imagine an aircraft capable of flying 6 times faster than the speed of sound, reaching the edges of space. Faster than any other machine created by humans. A device so advanced that it can render modern military defense systems obsolete. This dream is now becoming a reality. Elon Musk, the man who changed the perception of electric cars and made space travel accessible, has just unveiled his new supersonic Starjet. But what does this hypersonic monster mean for the future of aviation, global security, and beyond? Does this signify the beginning of a new era in human achievements? Let's find out. Elon Musk, a technical genius and innovator, has once again captured the world's attention. He recently announced that his Starjet, a plane shrouded in mystery and destined for great achievements, is finally ready to conquer the skies, having successfully completed its first test flight. In his usual style, Musk took to social media to share this achievement, sparking a wave of discussions and debates across various platforms. The world is closely watching the developments, and this breakthrough places Musk on the brink of a new era in aviation, where the limits are at the stratospheric level. This aircraft is not just another development. It is a significant leap forward in military technology, with its incredible speed and revolutionary capabilities. Starjet, what's the catch? Elon Musk and his hypersonic aircraft Starjet aim to revolutionize the world of travel and logistics, making them faster, more comfortable, and more accessible. This project can stimulate international cooperation and innovation by reducing geographical limitations. The new engine combines traditional aviation technologies with SpaceX's know-how in rocket engineering. The fuel for Starjet includes liquid methane and oxygen, which reduces the environmental impact of using the aircraft. The machine will be able to reach speeds over 3,700 miles per hour, significantly reducing flight duration. The aerodynamic shape of the Starjet is designed to minimize air resistance and maximize flight efficiency. Modern composites help achieve the perfect combination of strength and lightweight construction. Advanced navigation and communication systems, as well as electronic control systems, ensure precise and smooth operation of the aircraft. The implementation of environmentally friendly methods for operation and maintenance is planned, including recycling and the reuse of aircraft components. This will reduce the carbon footprint and extend the service life of the aircraft. Starjet will open new horizons for the development of the tourism industry and scientific research. It will be part of global changes in transportation, including hypersonic flights and space travel, a worthy replacement. The Strategic Reconnaissance Aircraft SR-70, a Blackbird created by Lockheed Corporation, remained the fastest manned aircraft in the world for a long time. Its first flight occurred remarkably back in 1964, but it was retired in 1988. Later on down the line, however, it was brought back into service until finally being decommissioned once more in 1998. Now the company has introduced a worthy successor, the unmanned aircraft SR-72 Darkstar. Although the development of the machine is largely kept secret, some information about it is already available. It is known that, unlike its predecessor, the SR-70, a Blackbird which performed exclusively reconnaissance tasks, such as observation and photographing of objects, the SR-72 will have strike capabilities, becoming a reconnaissance fighter. The presence of strike capabilities will enhance the aircraft's competitiveness. Speaking about the proposed armament of the prospective aircraft, Lockheed stated that it will be able to use hypersonic missiles. Hypersonic weapons in the USA are currently in the development stage, so the use of hypersonic missiles on the prospective aircraft will only be possible after the completion of the relevant work. According to Lockheed Martin's plan, the first flight of the new hypersonic strike aircraft SR-72 Darkstar is scheduled for 2025. The Pentagon is interested in acquiring this machine, capable of reaching speeds from 3,900 to 4,500 miles per hour, invisible to radars and other detection systems. For comparison, the SR-71 Blackbird reached a modest 2,200 to 2,700 miles per hour. The new speed frontier that the Darkstar Starjet must overcome creates additional challenges, which I will discuss further. Temperature. At such incredibly high speeds, the aircraft's skin will heat up to over 482 degrees Fahrenheit. According to calculations by independent engineers, the interior side of the pilot's cockpit glazing could heat up to 248 degrees Fahrenheit. The cockpit can theoretically be cooled, so the pilots will most likely be able to safely return to base. Unless, of course, they have to eject at full speed. However, thermodynamic issues make it practically impossible to ensure the aircraft's stealth. Modern radar-absorbing materials begin to melt at lower temperatures. Moreover, a heated aircraft will become an ideal target for infrared devices. Detection. Even if these issues can be resolved, there will still be another challenge. At hypersonic speed, the aircraft will create such air pressure that its trail will be visible on conventional radar screens. Furthermore, the structural framework of the fuselage and wings cannot be made from traditional aluminum alloys. as aluminum loses its strength properties at such temperatures. Obviously, for the SR-72, Dark Star, a composite structure made of polymers, ceramics, is forced to develop a special engine, the J58, known as a turbo ramjet. Essentially, it is a hybrid of turbojet and ramjet engines. Adjustable cones in the air intakes of such an engine slow down the airflow in the combustion chamber. Obviously, the Dark Star will require an even more adaptable multifunctional hybrid engine capable of operating at subsonic speeds, for takeoff and landing, as well as at cruising speeds exceeding Mach 5. Perhaps the difficulties encountered will be overcome, but the military might abandon mass production, considering the numerous compromises. In any case, we will witness the birth of the Blackbird's successor, these and other supersonic aircraft. I have described in my Telegram channel, Unusual America, where I publish the most incredible stories from life in the USA. And I share important news. Visit, read, and subscribe. The A12, which became an inspiration for Elon Musk.
كادبري شوكو ديلايت، بسكوت متغطي بشوكولاتة كادبري فيغطي على اللحظة دي.
عمر انت شايل مادتين؟
عايز اعرف النتيجه دلوقتي حالا.
نعرف. طب اديني
حالا بلغني ايه في ايه؟ اكلم انا الكنترول اجيب النتيجه من انت.
والكثفة دي 9 كتير جدا بصراحة. مهما كان يومك، كادبري شوكو ديلايت، الحلو اللي في يومك.
The Lockheed A-12 was an iconic American reconnaissance aircraft that, despite its short service life, set records and left a rich legacy. In the 1950s and 1960s, the CIA initiated the Oxcart project with the aim of replacing the famous U-2 reconnaissance aircraft. The contract for the Oxcart project was awarded to Lockheed, and in 1959, the legendary aerospace engineer Clarence Kelly Johnson began developing the aircraft. The A-12 was the 12th version under the code name A-12 Archangel, which incorporated advanced innovations in titanium manufacturing, lubricants, jet engines, fuel, navigation systems, flight control, and electronic countermeasures, stealth technology and crew life support systems, testing in Area 50 Yarrow. The development of the A-12 was conducted under strict secrecy at Area 51 in Nevada, and efforts were made to hide it from Soviet reconnaissance satellites. Base personnel received the schedule of Soviet satellite flyovers over the Nevada test site to have time to hide the aircraft prototypes. It resembled a bus schedule, and it even indicated whether it was an infrared satellite and what type it belonged to. Former hypersonic testing program employee at Area 51, T.D. Barnes, recounted to National Geographic in 2011. In addition to hangars, employees also created decoy models out of cardboard and other materials to cast shadows and mislead satellites. They used thermal installations, simulating engines to create the illusion that planes had just landed. During one of the many test flights of the A-12, an incident occurred that led to the crash of the plane in the desert. Outside of Area 51, the American government tried to cover up the incident, but declassified photos showed scattered plane debris and teams cleaning up the wreckage. Even in intelligence, there are rules. And what about roads? If you get into an accident in America and don't know what to do next, where to seek help? Where to find a competent lawyer? How to get compensation if you don't have insurance? The company Accident America helped secure $21 million in compensation for its clients. Here, you will definitely get answers to all your questions. Link in the description. Pilot requirements. Despite the outstanding technical characteristics of the A-12, there was little room for comfort inside it. Pilots had to be shorter than 5 feet 9 inches and weigh less than 174 pounds to fit in the cramped single-seat cockpit. During the flight, there was usually only one crew member on board. the pilots themselves also faced strict requirements to work on the A-12. Candidates were selected based on strict criteria. Candidates had to have flown at least 2,000 hours, with half of those hours on the latest high-speed fighters. Candidates also had to be married, emotionally stable, and between the ages of 25 and 40. Only 16 applicants met all the necessary conditions and passed the rigorous security and medical checks. The list was narrowed down to 5 people. In the second selection stage, 6 more people were chosen. The protective thermal suit for A-12 pilots. Due to the supersonic speed, the aircraft's skin could heat up to 600 degrees Fahrenheit and up to 1,000 degrees Fahrenheit near the engine. The pilots were required to wear special suits with thermal insulation, pressure control systems, cooling, and life support to protect themselves from extreme temperatures and sudden pressure changes in case of ejection at high altitude. The cockpit was also equipped with an air conditioning system that maintained a comfortable temperature during the flight. The pilot suits had instructions for emergency situations which they could refer to if they needed to eject from the aircraft. The career of the A-12 in the U.S. Air Force.
بقلز هات الشبشب يلا. بقلز الشبشب يا ابني. آخ كلب غبي.
الكلب غبيان. ريد بول بيعطيك جوانح.
After its first flight in October 1963, the A-12 was officially deemed fit for use in 1965, setting a record speed of 2,200 miles per hour, which is 3 times the speed of sound, and a maximum altitude of 90,000 feet. To this day, the A-12 remains the record holder for maximum speed and altitude among manned jet aircraft with turbojet engines in the history of aviation. Despite its groundbreaking and revolutionary innovations, the A-12 participated in only one reconnaissance mission, codenamed Black Shield, which took place in the mission from May 1967 to May 1968. The A-12 conducted high-resolution imaging, the results of which could be processed and analyzed in just a few hours after returning to Earth. A total of 3 A-12 aircraft completed 29 sorties over East Asia, gathering intelligence data for the needs of the American military during the Vietnam War. Around the same time, the United States began using Corona photo reconnaissance satellites to gather information about the Soviet Union. These satellites provided images of lower quality than the A-12 and required more time to transmit the images to specialists. However, they were invulnerable to anti-aircraft missiles and were less likely to provoke international tension than reconnaissance flights. Fearing that Soviet radars would soon match the level of technology of the A-12, President Lyndon B. Johnson ordered the discontinuation of this aircraft in 1968. Then work began on creating its successor, the SR-71 Blackbird, which was subsequently actively used for reconnaissance missions during the Cold War. SR-71 Blackbird, the successor to the A-12. SR-71. The Blackbird had a lower risk of being detected by enemy radars compared to the A-12, thanks to additional optical and radar systems. The 2-seater Blackbird was significantly larger than the A-12, approximately 5 feet 9 inches longer, and 15,000 pounds heavier. It was slower, but had a greater range between refuelings. When spy satellite programs began to gain momentum in the field of foreign intelligence, the fate of the SR-71 mirrored the fate of its predecessor, and the last Blackbird was retired on January 26, 1990. YF-12, the armed variant of the A-12, created in Miabino in the 1960s as part of the Kedlock project, which was a continuation of the Oxcart project. The YF-12 appeared shortly before the SR-71. It was designed to reach speeds of up to Mach 3 and altitudes of up to 80,000 feet. The YF-12 was developed to intercept Soviet bombers at long distances and high speeds, being specifically equipped with 3 air-to-air missiles. However, due to reduced military spending related to the war in Southeast Asia, Secretary of Defense Robert McNamara decided to cancel the Kedlock project in 1968. And the YF-12 was never put into service. M21, a variant of the A-12 with unmanned aerial vehicles. The M21, developed under the Tagboard project for the CIA, was a modified version of the A-12, designed to carry an unmanned drone that collected reconnaissance data over enemy territory. To avoid confusion, the modified version of the A-12 was designated as the M21, and the drone it carried was called the D-21. A total of 2 M21 units were produced, one of which was lost during drone testing. In 1960, in the 6th year, Elon Musk's son named XAA-12. The A-12 is also a favorite aircraft of technology magnate Elon Musk and singer Grimes. So they chose a name for their child, born in 2020, related to its famous predecessor, XAA-12. In her tweet posted in May of the same year, Grimes explained the meaning behind the name choice for her son. Although their favorite aircraft, the SR-71, Blackbird, they decided to include a reference to its predecessor in their child's name. No weapons, no defense, just speed. Perfect in combat, but without aggression, Grimes wrote at the time on Elon Musk's social network. People often find inspiration in engineering challenges, especially those initially developed for military purposes, but later found applications in peaceful technologies. For example, discoveries like penicillin and space satellites began as military projects, but later became indispensable parts of our daily lives. Even if the SR-72 Darkstar Starjet turns out to be an unsuccessful project, the knowledge gained can help realize humanity's dreams about suborbital flights. That's all for today. Goodbye everyone, and see you next time.
This new U.S. helicopter is changing the game in the sky. Did you know that the United States of America was the first to start producing combat helicopters? Are you aware that American rotorcraft consistently rank among the top 10 best combat machines in the world? Today, I will tell you about the most expensive U.S. helicopter worth billions of dollars. Are you ready? Then let's go. The Raider X has numerous features, including intelligence gathering and rapid response to emerging threats. These capabilities significantly enhance the Army's potential to detect threats at long distances. On March 25, 2020, the military began implementing the Raider X and Bell 360 Invictus projects. The plan included the creation and testing of flight prototypes by 2020, as well as conducting a demonstration flight in the fall of 2023. By that time, by February 2020, Sikorsky had already begun constructing the Raider X prototype. The Raider X, developed under the Future Attack Reconnaissance Aircraft Program, uses a powerful engine. General Electric T901, developed under the Advanced Turbine Engine Program for use in current and future helicopters. Based on the characteristics of predecessors like the S-97 and X-2, it can be expected that the maximum speed of the Raider X will exceed 285 miles per hour, 460 km per hour. It is expected to operate at altitudes over 9,000 feet, 2,700 meters. The weight of the aircraft will be about 14,000 pounds, 6,400 kilograms. The development and production of the fuselage is handled by Swift Engineering. The cockpit features 2 separate seats instead of the traditional tandem arrangement typical of American combat helicopters. The armament and sensors are integrated into the design using a modular system, such as allowing adaptation to future technologies and therefore preventing obsolescence in order to remain effective. However, indeed, on February 8, 2024, the U.S. military announced the termination of the next-generation Future Attack Reconnaissance Aircraft program, replacing a potential multi-billion-dollar deal and jeopardizing the long-term development of the armed forces aviation. Despite the Pentagon having already invested around $2 billion in the project and requesting additional funds, for the next 5 years the program was shut down. Ultimately, the Raider X was officially unveiled in the month of April 2024. However, Sikorsky decided not to continue with flight tests, halting at further engine testing.
جديد من سيرافي مرطب البشرة الدهنية لترطيب حتى 48 ساعة وتحكم في اللمعان حتى 8 ساعات.
The H-1Z Viper is a multi-role attack helicopter developed by Bell based on the H-1W Super Cobra model. The primary purpose of the H-1Z is to provide fire support to infantry units on the battlefield, as well as to escort transport helicopters during their missions. The prototype's first flight took place in December 2000. Upgraded engines, a new 4-blade composite rotor, advanced avionics, and a night vision system. The NTS make the AH-1Z an effective tool for combat operations, even in conditions of limited visibility and challenging weather conditions. Helicopter pilots use convenient multifunctional liquid crystal displays measuring 6 by 8 inches to display information. The third-generation FLIR infrared viewing system allows the operator to accurately identify targets at a distance, miles. This system is a key component of the TSS sighting and targeting complex, which also includes a low-level color television system, image intensification, a laser rangefinder, and a laser designator. The armor of the Minx protects the crew from small arms, ensuring safety in combat. The combat range of the AH-1Z is 124 miles. The AH-1Z's arsenal is diverse and includes a 3-barrel cannon, the 197 Vulcan of 0.8-inch caliber with a supply of 750 rounds, controlled through a targeting mechanism integrated into the pilot's helmet. Under the helicopter's wings, there are 4 hardpoints that allow for the mounting of various types of weaponry, such as BGM-71, Tiao, anti-tank missiles, Hellfire missiles, unguided rockets of 2.76-inch caliber, bombs, GBU-55B, Zuni rockets, and containers with a 6-barrel machine gun, 134 minigun of 3.1-inch caliber. Additionally, at the wingtips, AIM-99L Sidewinder air-to-air guided missiles or sidearm anti-radar missiles can be mounted. The cost of one AS-1Z helicopter is $31 million, placing it among the most expensive machines in the U.S. arsenal. The project for the American military helicopter Bell Air 70 Arapahoe was initiated by Bell Helicopter in 2006. The development of the light multi-purpose helicopter began 2 years earlier, in 2004. To reduce project costs, the company's specialists proposed using the design of the successful civilian model, Bell 407, as a basis. One of the key problems of the helicopter was its low controllability when landing on small platforms, despite its good maneuverability. Due to these shortcomings, pilots required high skills, which made the use of this model in regular U.S. forces difficult. As a result, the designers at Bell Helicopter decided to modernize and improve the helicopter. Subsequently, 3 more prototypes of the ARH-70 Arapahoe were created, but none of them met the necessary technical parameters. Ultimately, the project was closed. However, in 2014, there were unconfirmed rumors about the resumption of work on this military helicopter. Although neither the management of Bell Helicopter nor the American military authorities officially confirmed these reports. According to the declared tactical and technical characteristics, the ARH-70 Arapahoe helicopter could be equipped with the following armaments: a 0.5-inch caliber heavy machine gun for targeting personnel and light armored vehicles, 2 pods of unguided rockets for destroying heavy armored vehicles and concentrations of enemy infantry. Additionally, the helicopter could carry 8 people, including 2 pilots and 6 soldiers, or an equivalent weight of cargo equipment, making it a versatile means of transportation. The helicopter was powered by a gas turbine engine. The Honeywell HTS 902 engine with 970 horsepower, allowing the machine to reach speeds of up to 162 miles per hour and cover distances of up to 186 miles. I have described these and other helicopters in my Telegram channel Unusual America, where I publish the most incredible stories from life in the USA and share important news. Visit, read, and subscribe. Sikorsky, H-34. A light multi-purpose military helicopter developed by Sikorsky Aircraft. Its serial production began in 1954 and continued until 1970. The main task of the helicopter was to perform anti-submarine operations. For this purpose, it was equipped with machine guns, a set of unguided rockets, and could drop depth charges. However, as an anti-submarine machine, this helicopter did not gain widespread use. Instead, it was actively used until the mid-1980s as an aerial fire support vehicle, as well as for search and rescue operations and reconnaissance. Thanks to its multifunctionality, the Sikorsky H-34 helicopter also found its place in civil aviation. Although a total of 2,108 units were produced, today approximately 50 machines remain in operation, most of which are used specifically for civilian purposes. If necessary, the Sikorsky H-34 helicopter can perform the capabilities of a light transport aircraft carrying up to approximately 3,148 pounds of payload or up to 18 passengers in total without weapons on board. Initially, it was designed as a means of aerial suppression of the enemy due to its good armor protection, but with the development of modern defensive weaponry, it became less effective, although it was still used for patrolling. The helicopter's power plant is represented by a single piston, radial engine Wright 1820-84 with a power of 1525, horsepower 5525, horsepower 525, HP, which provides high load capacity. The maximum flight speed is 170 km per hour, 3 miles. However, the flight range is limited and reaches only 183 miles, depending on the weight of the cargo carried over the years of production. The Sikorsky H-34 helicopter was produced in more than 50 different modifications, many of which had limited production and were intended for specialized tasks. The Kaman SH-2 Sea Sprite is an American multi-purpose helicopter, the development of which began in 1956 at the initiative of the U.S. Navy. The Kaman Aircraft Corporation completed the design of the helicopter in 1959. The primary task of this aircraft was anti-submarine warfare against enemy submarines, as well as performing other missions such as search and rescue operations and transporting small groups of people or cargo. The Kaman SH-2 Sea Sprite helicopter is large in size, which somewhat reduces its maneuverability. However, since this helicopter is not intended for engaging fast targets, this aspect did not significantly affect its popularity among the American military. In addition to its primary task of detecting and destroying submarines, the Kaman SH-2 Sea Sprite helicopter can also be used as a combat unit or as an air support asset. Its armament includes 2 3.1-inch caliber machine guns, sets of anti-ship missiles, and anti-submarine torpedoes. This helicopter is capable of carrying up to 3,168 pounds of payload, making it suitable for transport missions. It can also accommodate 7 people on board, including 3 crew members and 4 additional passengers. Although it was practically not used for transporting people. The power plant of the common SH-2 Sea Sprite helicopter is a General Electric T58GA8B gas turbine engine, developing approximately 1,525 horsepower. This allows the helicopter to reach maximum speeds of up to 275 km/h and cover distances of up to 670 miles in total, depending on the specific version and operating conditions in various conditions. Regardless of whether you are in the sky or on the ground, it is important to follow traffic rules. If you get into an accident in America and don't know what to do next, where to seek help, where to find a competent lawyer, how to get compensation if you don't have insurance, the company DTP America has helped obtain $21 million in compensation for its clients. Here, you will definitely get answers to all your questions. Link in the description. The Bell AH-1 Cobra is an American attack helicopter developed by Bell Helicopter Corporation in 1965. Work on the project initially began in 1962, and just 3 years later, in 1965, the first test flight of the prototype successfully took place. In 1967, after the successful completion of testing, the helicopter went into mass production, where it remains to this day. Thanks to its outstanding combat characteristics, the helicopter's armament varies depending on the modification and includes 2 paired machine guns of caliber, approximately 0.3 inches, for engaging personnel and lightly armored targets. 2 rocket launchers for providing air support or attacking enemy armored vehicles. 1 automatic aircraft cannon of 0.8-inch caliber for engaging light armored targets or aerial vehicles. The helicopter crew consists of 2 people, a pilot and a gunner. The power plant of the Bell H-1 Cobra helicopter is equipped with a Lycoming T-53L-13 gas turbine engine, which develops a thrust of 1100 HP. This allows the helicopter to reach a maximum speed of up to 217 miles per hour and cover a distance of up to 357 miles. Lockheed H-56. Cheyenne is an American combat attack helicopter developed by Lockheed Corporation in 1967. The development of the helicopter began in the early 1960s, when the U.S. Armed Forces required an effective and affordable combat aircraft. The first tests of the helicopter took place in September 1967. The Lockheed AH-56 Cheyenne model has good flight and combat characteristics. However, its large size reduces maneuverability, which sometimes made it difficult to successfully counter large enemy forces. The helicopter's armament includes a 1.6-inch grenade launcher, a 3.1-inch caliber machine gun, an automatic high-caliber 1.2-inch aircraft cannon, a set of unguided rockets for striking ground targets, a set of guided missiles for engaging ground targets. The helicopter crew consists of 2 people, a pilot and a gunner. Since the helicopter belongs to the class of combat attack machines, transporting people and cargo on board is not possible. The power plant of the Lockheed H-56 Cheyenne helicopter is represented by a gas turbine engine. General Electric T-64GE-16 with a power of 3925. Nice to have up. This allows the helicopter to reach a maximum speed of up to 242 miles. The maximum flight range is 1224 miles, 1970 kilometers, which provided a significant operational radius and was an important advantage of this aircraft. Although the project was soon cancelled, 10 units of this attack helicopter were produced. Today they are part of museum collections. It's surprising that during World War II, helicopters did not yet play the role of an attack combat force. Active research and development in the field of helicopter construction in the USA only began in the second half of the 20th century. The arms race with the USSR spurred significant investments in the creation of new types of military equipment, and American designers introduced the world to a number of outstanding models of rotary wing aircraft. And that's all for today. Goodbye everyone.
وانت بتغسل اللبس اللي بتحبه تقدر تختار أي برنامج غسيل وتوفر كهرباء حتى 35% مع تكنولوجيا انرجي سبين من بيكو. ومع اريال بودز هتزيل البقع الصعبة من غسلة واحدة بس. يحفظ بعيداً عن متناول الأطفال.
بريك بخلطة القمح والذرة، قرمشة قوية وطعم مفيش زيه. بريك الحب بسط.
The story associated with this submarine is much darker than one could imagine, and we will delve into the mysterious final moments on board. Experts conducted the examination. Stay with us and be amazed by the scale of the uncovered secrets. During the court hearings on September 16, 2024, the public audience was presented with the first images of the wreckage of the bathyscaphe Titan. These images were obtained using specialized remotely operated equipment 4 days after the accident. Representatives of the U.S. Coast Guard showed a photograph where the tail section of the vessel is visible, stuck on the ocean floor, at a depth of over 12,000 feet. In addition, participants in the process were shown an animated video recreating the submarine's trajectory from the start of its descent to the moment communication was lost. Official comments emphasize that these materials serve as indisputable evidence of the catastrophic incident. The bathyscaph's descent began on June 18, 2023, at 9:17 a.m. from the deck of the ship Polar Prince. During the descent, the ground team periodically maintained contact with the Titan crew. However, communication was occasionally interrupted and messages were sent from the submarine about temporary system malfunctions. About an hour after the start of the descent, the crew reported that the situation had stabilized. At that time, 2 ballast weights were released from the bathyscaphe. After that, communication was completely lost. At that moment, the Titan had already reached a depth of 10,178 feet. According to the investigation by the US Coast Guard, this episode was the last successful contact between the Titan and the support vessel before complete loss of communication. The chief engineer of the Titan bathyscaphe, Tony Neeson, admitted that he refused to participate in the operation and descent, explaining his decision by his lack of trust in the team hired by OceanGate. He recalled an incident when, during a test dive in Hawaii, the submarine was struck by lightning, which could potentially have caused damage. Even earlier in 2019, Neeson cancelled an expedition to the Titanic, warning the company's head, Stockton Rush, about flaws in the apparatus's operation. "I will not go there," Neeson said at the time. Nevertheless, according to him, Rush continued to insist on the rapid launch of the submersible. Another former company employee, David Lockridge, also faced similar pressure. He shared a story about how the head of OceanGate dismissively spoke about installing rescue equipment on board the submersible, calling it an unnecessary expense. Lockridge showed Rush and other board members emergency supply kits, including protective gear, food, and water supplies, which could ensure the crew's survival in case of an emergency. Rush walked past me with other executives and said, "We will not be installing all this on the Titan," Lockridge recalls. The specialist emphasized that the Titan was considered an experimental vessel that had not undergone sufficient testing and could pose a threat to passengers. He was also concerned about the presence of ordinary tourists on board who had no experience with underwater vehicles. "I know that, according to Stockton's ideas, anyone could become a pilot by training with a game controller, but that's far from the truth," Lockridge concluded in his court testimony. And what if you get into an accident in America and don't know what to do next? Where to seek help? Where to find a competent lawyer? How to get compensation if you don't have insurance? The company DTP America, DAM, has helped secure $21 million in compensation for its clients. Here, you will definitely get answers to all your questions. Link in the description. Tim Catterson, an OceanGate employee who was aboard the Polar Prince vessel at the time of the tragedy, expressed the opinion that the decompression of the submersible might have occurred along the line where the block with the porthole is attached to the hull, rather than due to the destruction of the window itself. He believes that the passengers were unaware of the impending danger. The people on board had no idea what might happen. "I want to emphasize that none of them suffered. They were expecting to see the Titanic when everything happened," Catterson added. He also rejected the assumption that the release of ballast before the accident could indicate an emergency on board and an attempt by the crew to quickly surface. Instead, Catterson hypothesized that the ballast was released to slow down the submersible's movement as it approached the Titanic. To ensure the softest possible contact with the ocean floor, there were 2 billionaires on board. I think Stockton wanted to do everything perfectly. The relatives of the deceased, however, are convinced that the passengers realized in the final moments of their lives. In August 2024, the family of the deceased French researcher Paul-Henri Narjolet, who participated in the last expedition on the Titan, filed a lawsuit against the submersible manufacturer OceanGate. The family is seeking compensation of at least $50 million, claiming that the passengers suffered knowing about their imminent death. They acknowledge that the Titan crew was surely aware of what was happening. The acoustic safety system most likely would have alerted them about potential cracks in the carbon fiber under immense pressure, which should have prompted the pilots to jettison ballast and attempt to stop the descent. The lawsuit suggests that the crew members most certainly indeed realized their fate while they were still alive. The first dive of the bathyscaphe took place in 2018, and the developers claimed it was absolutely reliable and of an unprecedented level. Comfort for the crew. Despite this, the design of the apparatus immediately drew criticism. Ocean employee David Lockridge compiled a report indicating that the Titan had not undergone the necessary number of tests and poses a potential threat to passengers. The company sued Lockridge and subsequently fired him. Clients who had paid for the trips were not made aware of the fact that the expedition was highly experimental in nature. Later, 38 experts, including deep-sea researchers and oceanographers, collectively sent a strongly worded letter to OceanGate CEO Stockton Rush, warning him that the company's methods and refusal to conduct traditional inspections might result in tragic consequences. The question of what feelings the passengers of the Titan submersible experienced before the tragedy also sparks debate. One of the crew members on board the ship, Paul Prince, doubts the theory of the porthole's destruction. In his opinion, the passengers were not aware of the impending doom, as events unfolded rapidly, and no one on board suffered. However, the relatives of the deceased hold a different opinion. They believe that the expedition members were aware of their fate. When the pressure at great depth began to damage the submersible, the crew tried to jettison the ballast, but already understood that the chances of rescue were minimal. These are the conclusions contained in the lawsuit demanding financial compensation, filed by the family of the deceased French traveler Paul-Henri Narjolet. I remind you that the submersible Titan was heading to the remains of the legendary Titanic in the Atlantic Ocean. The vessel disappeared from radar on June 19, 2023. There were 5 people on board. 2 airplanes and 2 military ships participated in the search. Among the passengers of the Titan were British billionaire Hamish Harding, Pakistani businessman Shahzada Dawood and his son Suleiman, OceanGate founder Stockton Rush, and experienced deep-sea explorer Paul-Henri Narjolet. The wreckage of the submersible was found on June 22nd. Preliminary data indicated that the vessel was destroyed by an explosion at a depth of about 12,500 feet. The U.S. Coast Guard confirmed the death of all those on board. Experts suggested that the death of the expedition participants was instantaneous and painless. OceanGate is an American private company located in Everett, Washington. It specialized in providing manned submersibles for tourism, industrial, research, and exploration purposes. The founders of the company are Stockton Rush and Guillermo Saint-Lane. The company was established in the year 2009. The company initially acquired the submersible vehicle Antipods, then developed its own models, Cyclops 1 and Titan. In the year 2021, OceanGate began offering tourist trips on the Titan to the Titanic wreck site. The cost of participating in such an expedition in 2022 was approximately $250,000 per person. The sinking of the bathyscaphe Titan became the first tragic incident in the history of commercial diving in the last 35 years. This accident led to the official closure of the company OceanGate on July 6, 2023. Shortly after the incident, its subsidiary OceanGate Expeditions also ceased operations. Following this, a notice appeared on OceanGate's website stating that all research and commercial operations were suspended. There is no information online about whether the company has resumed activities. However, it is unlikely that someone else with similarly ambitious goals to profit from the Titanic won't emerge while it can still be seen. Looking at the tragic outcome with the Titan submersible, American billionaire Larry Connor intends to undertake a new expedition to the Titanic wreck. Previously, he had already gained fame for his extreme adventures, including a dive into the Mariana Trench and participation in the first tourist flight to the International Space Station. Connor decided to avoid the mistakes of his predecessors by choosing the 2-seater submersible Triton 4002E Abyssal Explorer for his journey. This vessel has undergone official certification and is capable of safely descending to to a depth of up to 13,000 feet, making it much more reliable than the vessel used by Ocean Gate. The cost of such a submersible is $20 million. However, the specific prices and timing of the upcoming dive remain unknown. Director James Cameron, known for his numerous dives to the Titanic wreck, noted the remarkable similarity between events that occurred in the same place. First at the beginning of the 20th century, and now in our time. In both cases, captivated by the power of modern technology, ship owners and wealthy passengers neglected necessary safety measures. Before the wreckage was discovered, Cameron already understood that the submersible could not be saved and discussed this topic with Russian oceanographer Anatoly Sagalovich, who, like him, was acquainted with the submariner Paul-Henri Nargeolet, who was on board the Titan. Many in our community were extremely concerned. This submersible and leading deep-sea engineers even wrote letters to the company, warning that their actions were too experimental and needed certification. I am struck by the similarity of these events to the Titanic disaster, noted James Cameron. The Titanic sank on the night of April 15, 1912, taking the lives of about 1,500 people. This event remains one of the largest maritime disasters in human history, surpassed only by military tragedies. The story of the Titanic continues to captivate scientists, researchers, and adventurers all over the world. The ship is shrouded in myths and conspiracy theories. Many books have been written and numerous films have been made about it. For many years, the location of its final resting place was sought. Artifacts raised from the seabed have become iconic objects. Now, alongside the underwater memorial of the Titanic, rests the Titan submersible, as if a symbolic reminder that nature is relentless and harshly punishes arrogance. Robert Ballard, the renowned researcher who famously discovered the wreck of the Titanic in the year 1985, was the first person to explore the ship's remarkable remains using submersibles and underwater robots. After conducting 2 incredible expeditions and making over 30 noteworthy dives, Ballard announced in 1986 that he no longer planned to return to the Titanic. Like the well-known James Cameron, Ballard is a member of the prestigious New York Explorers Club, founded in 1904. During one of his dives, he left a plaque on the bow of the Titanic with a request to leave the ship in peace. However, the Titanic was never left in peace. Various groups of researchers and enthusiasts have repeatedly visited the wreck site, and French specialists even raised several hundred artifacts from the seabed. Later, the wreck site was declared a memorial, and the retrieval of items from it was officially prohibited. Nevertheless, since the Titanic is in international waters, it is impossible to fully control the activity around it. Another member of the New York Explorers Club, Richard Garriott, who became the first space tourist and visited the ISS in 2004, noted that only after diving to the Titanic did he truly realize the full danger of the elements. During the dive to the Titanic, I felt real danger for the first time. We ended up under the stern, and were observing the wreckage when we unexpectedly collided the bow of the bathyscaphe with the ship itself. The water became murky. We disturbed the ruins, and we were suddenly pinned to the bottom. That's when we learned the truth about the safety measures. It turned out that no matter how arrogance or was the cause of what happened simply a mistake, exacerbated by adverse conditions, it remains a question. And that's all for today. Goodbye, everyone.
الفلتر الأكثر حماية من أشعة الشمس الضارة.
عيش كل اللي بتحلم بيه وسافر لأي مكان في العالم. احجز سفرك من فلاين وخلي أحلامك حقيقة. احجز اليوم بأوفر سعر وبالجنيه المصري.
Imagine a world where the boundaries of the impossible are erased and machines become true heroes of adventure, from dangerous jungles to icy wastelands. Extreme off-road vehicles are capable of conquering any element. On this journey, you will see innovating amphibious vehicles to powerful ultra-tanks. Are you ready for incredible discoveries and technologies that will change your perception of welcome to the future, already here? Ripsaw EV2. Recently, I came across something amazing in the world of off-road vehicles, the Ripsaw EV2. It was one of those moments when you feel like you're encountering technology from the future. The internet is full of stories about cars, but this one truly captured my imagination. Imagine an off-road vehicle so powerful that it's ready to chew its way through any obstacle, be it rocks, mud, or swamp. The Ripsaw EV2 is a blend of innovative design and military technology. It runs on tracks, and that alone makes it clear you're looking at something serious. I found out that the first prototypes were developed for military use, which adds a certain adrenaline rush. This kind of all-terrain vehicle seems to effortlessly take you anywhere, while providing a level of comfort comparable to the best luxury cars. Reviews often mention how easy and intuitive it is. Thought that a vehicle with such a muscular appearance would turn out to be so obedient and provide such a spectacle over bumps and rough terrain. Even though I'm more used to evaluating classic cars, the Ripsaw EV2 made me reconsider my views. Not just an all-terrain vehicle, but a true symbiosis of power and comfort. Ultima T. Recently, I was doing some online research on off-road vehicles and all-terrain machines, and I found something astonishing. Imagine a Nissan Altima, which has always been associated with a true off-road beast. Yes, I was just as shocked to see that someone managed to put tracks on it instead of wheels. This modification, called the Ultima TED, looks like a challenge to nature itself. It's as if the car is mockingly grinning at impassable road conditions. I always thought that sedans and off-roading were incompatible concepts. But how wrong I was. The internet is full of praise for this model, and I'm starting to believe in this engineering marvel. It's like moving from a world of comfort into an unknown world of adventure. I never thought that an ordinary sedan could broaden its horizon so much. It even made me want to become an adventurer myself, ready to challenge nature itself. It's strange how the modified Altima has become a symbol of an endless drive for something new. This car is now more than just a means of transportation. It's inspiration. I feel like I've learned not only about cars, but also about how ideas like this can change our perception of what familiar things are capable of. Ripsaw EV3S. In my search for something incredible, I came across the Ripsaw EV3S online. I was immediately struck by its power and unexpected design. It's really not just an off-roader, it's more like a tank, ready to cross it. The power promised by its engine is certainly impressive and intriguing. Sitting in my office and reading about this machine, I imagined what it would be like to be behind the wheel of such a beast. The tracks, like those on an all-terrain vehicle, seemed practically indispensable for fields covered in mud and snow. 600 horsepower under the hood, according to reviews, makes it not only powerful but also maneuverable, as if it were flying over the ground. I was especially drawn to the idea of combining the raw power and refined luxury of the Ripsaw EV3S. The interior, according to descriptions, is so luxurious that you can forget you're in a vehicle built to conquer off-road terrain. Safety and entertainment systems, premium materials, all of this creates a unique atmosphere inside this beast. I'm becoming more and more convinced that one day I should experience this technological marvel for myself, because it's the perfect embodiment of a dream. Now, it's not just a truly luxurious object, but also an incredibly powerful off-roader, always ready to conquer even the most impassable routes. An upgraded suspension system was installed in this ultra car, along with a high-performance, powerful engine, making it absolutely unrivaled on rough terrain. It can easily